Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning and good morning. And I would appreciate it if those of you who are just bathed in darkness show your faces, so I feel like I am indeed talking to two groups who are part of one group. Well, that's my request. So this morning, this is my first of two talks I'm gonna give on the four yogas. And these four yogas are not hatha yoga as you know it. The preliminary to one of the yogas is hatha yoga, meaning if you go into uptown, if you go downtown, if you go in any city in the country, you'll see hatha yoga centers all over the place. That's a preliminary to Raja Yoga, which I will not be talking about today. I will talk about in my next talk. The four yogas are really foundational to Zen, really foundational and present within Zen. The four yogas emanate from the Rig Veda, which was written 700 to 1200 years before Buddha. So that's a ways before, and yoga, Indo-European language, yoga and yoke. Sanskrit is an Indo-European language. So we're yoking ourselves to something that's beyond our little worried self. Our little frantic, trying to figure things out, trying to get things right, trying to be mellow, trying to be a good parent. Beyond that, we're yoking ourselves to a force beyond that. And these are four different ways in which we do it, which are all part of Zen, really. And of course, in the Upanishads and the Vedas, we're discovering the Atman within, which is one with Brahman. In Mahayana Buddhism, we're discovering the Buddha nature within, which is one with big mind. And a lot of people argue about this stuff, which is the one true way. Well, the one true way is just to do one of these practices and just feel it for yourself. Feel it for yourself, or do them all. Or just do Zen and you're doing them all, because it's an amalgamation. So I'm going to talk about Bhakti for a while. And I did talk about Bhakti 3 years ago. I could give like 8 or 10 talks on Bhakti, but on Bhakti for a while, and then I'm going to turn to talking about Nyana, Jnana, or Gyana, those two yogas, Bhakti. So most of you know, many of you know Bhakti means devotion. It means devotion. And we devote ourselves to something beyond our little worried self, to something big that doesn't judge us, that we feel connected to. And in 12 steps, what is that? That's the higher power. The higher power. In Buddhism, that's ta-riki. That's other power. Ta meaning other, riki meaning power. And that's by far the most popular spiritual practice worldwide in any religion. Devotion. Powered by the emotions. And this, the way the yogis practiced it and the way we practice it in Zen, we're focusing on giving ourselves away to a force that's bigger than us, that includes all life within it. And it takes a form, and the form may be what we devote ourselves to, because human beings need forms, especially in Bhakti, we need forms. So I'll talk a little bit about its distinct attributes in a minute. So as with all of these practices in Buddhism, we're cutting through greed, hatred, and delusion. Center of the wheel of suffering in Buddhism. Greed, hatred, grabbing to things that will make me feel good, like having more of you come and pay attention to my talks, pushing away those of you who are sleeping, and ignoring everyone else. Greed, hatred, and delusion. Three things that keep us on the wheel of suffering, psycho-spiritual suffering. And in the Vedas, it's considered there's a fine thread of love that connects our hearts with this big power, this transcendent power. It's dormant, so much of the time, hidden by layers of ignorance and suffering. And we would say the Buddha nature is dormant. But through our practice, we open up to it. It's no longer covered. And no matter where we go or what we do, there's this thread is already here. This is a truism. Buddha nature is already here, and it's connected to big mind. But we don't feel it most of the time. And but the very fact that we have a deep yearning to feel it means that we're feeling it, because within the yearning, that activates the thread, activates our lives. Just the yearning itself is the beginning of the opening to the thread, into the big mind. Yeah. Or into Brahman, or into Buddha mind, or whatever you want to call it. And traditionally, and this is again pre-Buddhist, there are two ways or two steps which we do bhakti practice, devotional practice. Ishta, I-S-H-T-A, we adopt a form or a particular embodiment of the divine, of the deity, of the archetype, of the bodhisattva. Anybody ever hear of the bodhisattva? Of the bodhisattva. In the Catholic Church and my grandmother, there's the cult of Mary. My grandmother really devoted herself to Mary. Went to Mexico, many pilgrimages. Kali in Hinduism, the dark Kali. And in Buddhism, Buddha, Avalokiteshvara, Kuan Yin, Kannon, Manjusri, Jiso, Samantabhadra, Maitreya, plus gods and goddesses. Buddhism has lots of gods and goddesses. In Zen, we don't talk too much about it, but open one of those sutras, you'll see the proliferation of gods and goddesses. Because in ancient Asia, it was just taken for granted there are spirits all over the place. And of course, in Zen Buddhism, prajna paramita is probably the central archetype. Bodhisattva, the mother of all Buddhas, prajna paramita. And when I go to the altar, whenever I'm doing a ritual or one of the other priests do, we bow to prajna paramita every time we recite her name. So that's Ishta, choosing one of these archetypes, choosing one of these spiritual forces and really giving yourself away. Or two of them, you're really giving yourself, but not really devoting yourself, not kind of always trying to find the best one. The best one is here in front of you, just do it. Just do it. And the second way is Japam, J-A-P-A-M. And that's our practice. That's devotional practice. Christian mystics May Christ have mercy on my soul. May Christ have mercy on my soul. May Christ have mercy on my soul. Teresa de Avila, Juan de la Cruz, Sufis have theirs, and we have ours. We have ours. And what are some of the things we do here at Zen Center? Well, I'm wearing a rock suit today. This is a mini version of a Buddhist robe. And some of you are here who've been initiated by me or one of the other teachers. And some of you are actually wearing your rock suits. Well, every morning when we're here in the Zendo, we chant, how great the robe of liberation, a field far beyond form and emptiness, wrapping ourselves in Buddha's teaching, freeing all beings. So we're devoting ourselves to something beyond, which is embodied in this little piece of cloth here. And I'm not going to explain that today because that's a Dharma talk in itself, or maybe two. But it goes way, way, way back, way, way, way back. And it gives me a sense of focus when my monkey mind is starting to go blah, 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 blah. Because it does. That's the nature of the mind to go blah, 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 blah. It's the nature of mind to wander. The mind's trying to protect us. It's trying to scope things out. Now, a second Bhakti practice for us at Zen Center here is the prajna paramita mantra. We recite this Heart Sutra every day, and then we get to a mantra that we repeat. So first we start with a yearning, which needs to sustain our practice, our spiritual practice. If we don't have a yearning, it's hard to sustain it. And if we lose our yearning, we need to come back to something that inspired us in the first place, so we can continue. So we start with a yearning, and we're in love with something, someone, beyond just our girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or kids, something that includes them but doesn't kick them out, something deeper and broader than them. We're in love with them, and that's the yearning. And we want to. Our yearning is to move into becoming the love that we already are. Becoming the love that we already are, that everything is. So we say in the Heart Sutra, gate, parasam, gate, bodhisattva. Gone, gone, gone beyond, gone completely beyond. Little Tim and all of his worries. Used to be a little young Tim and all of his worries. Now it's a little, not quite so young Tim. Not quite. Although, through your sitting practice, through your spiritual practice, your mind doesn't need to age. This is the secret I have for you. Your body ages, but your mind can get younger and younger. Bob Dylan had it right without doing any meditation when he said, I'm younger than that now. He had it right. So you can become younger and younger through this practice. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So many of you heard me talk about when I first, my first teacher, Suzuki Roshi, asked me to suggest that I repeat gate to myself in the middle of a really hard sesshin. That was a 7-day sesshin, a 7-day retreat. And I did it over and over again. Did it over and over again until little Tim cracked open. Something huge and wonderful, which is not a thing, and yet includes all things. And if you have your aspiration, you can do this too. You can do this too. I have no doubt about it. Zero doubt about it. You have to be hungry though. A hungry person always finds food. A hungry person always finds food. If you're not very hungry, you won't find food. You've got to be really hungry. So a third way that we do devotional practice here is every time when we end a sutra, and on Saturday morning, I think we do this 3 times. We say all Buddhas, 10 directions, 3 times, all beings, bodhisattva, mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, prajna, paramita. And then we bow. So we're giving ourselves away to these forces, these Buddhas, these bodhisattvas, and the 10 directions and the 80,000 directions. Mahasattvas are just great beings beyond our limited form. And particularly in Tibetan Buddhism, prostrations. When I was at Naropa as a young man, my friends they had to do 100,000 prostrations. That was what their teacher had them doing. Well, it takes a while to do 100,000. We don't quite do that many. We don't quite, but it's definitely a tariki practice, a devotional practice. You give yourself away. You give yourself away. You give yourself away until there's no self left. They're just doing it. They're just doing it. And my teacher said that his teacher had calluses on his forehead from the number of full-length bows he'd done. I don't know if that was a big deal. I don't know why he told us that. Oh, I think because we were resisting doing the bows. We said, well, this isn't Zen. I guess that's what he did. A fourth component of devotional practice, of bhakti practice, is the pilgrimage. Pilgrimage is huge worldwide. Places of power. Places of power. Mecca, Bethlehem, Jerusalem. And my Lakota teacher had specific places of power that he thought I should visit, and I did visit them. They were unnamed because, the Lakotas got wiped out, but they didn't. Their practice never got wiped. They're still doing it. So in our meal chants, before we chant, we say, Buddha was born at Lumbini, enlightened at Bodh Gaya, taught at Parnasi, entered Nirvana at Kushinagara. And if you go to India, people on pilgrimage go to all those places and just hang out, get the vibes, do their bhakti practice, do their opening up and prayerful practice. And finally, this Zen Center, that room in there, this room next to us, used to be the Buddha Hall, and the next room was the Zendo. That's before it became the Founders Hall, but then I think it went back to being the Buddha Hall. The Buddha Hall, that's where Katagiri Roshi had us do all our chanting. So we would leave the meditation hall, we would go into the Buddha Hall, and we would do all our chanting. And Buddha Hall is generally very small in Zen centers because the Zendo, the meditation hall, where we do our Jiriki practice, is more prominent. But in most of Buddhism, the Buddha Hall is the whole deal because it's devotion. It's devotion, just like in any other religion. And then part of devotional, of course, is doing things to help a group of other spiritual aspects, as in our sangha. Beautiful flower arrangement. It's an offering. Makes me feel good. Makes you guys feel good when you come in here. It's an offering. It's an offering. Supporting this building. It's an offering. Offering yourself. is something beyond your encapsulated little ego, beyond those limitations. And then we have mainstream Buddhism in Asia, in China and Japan. In China, we've got Pure Land Buddhism, which through Shinran, who lives 25 years, he was born 25 years before Dogen, takes Pure Land and changes a little bit, not very much, but it's all about homage to Amitabha Buddha, who's in the Pure Land. And we want to get reborn in the Pure Land. And so we do Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. But of course, that's not the way I teach. I teach here's the Pure Land. It's impure, but it's pure. It doesn't know anything about pure and impure. It's big. It's big. But anyway, this is much of huge before pre-communist China, and much even Zen temples, Chan temples in China. They do Namo Amida Butsu and they do Zazen. So Pure Land. Because whether you like it or not, most Buddhists believe in reincarnation and they want to get reborn in a good body, and so they want to get to the Pure Land, because if they get to Pure Land, they're guaranteed of being born in a better body than this one. Everybody wants to be a better body than this one, especially as you get to be my age. I'm looking for a trade-in. Anybody know anything about that? I want a trade-in. And in Japan, the largest sect of Buddhism is Nichiren, Soka Gakkai, 8 million adherents. 8 million adherents. And the Lotus Sutra, only you don't have to even open the Lotus Sutra. All you have to do is repeat the name of the Lotus Sutra over and over and over again, and you'll get enlightened. Oh, sure, I think so, why not? And so all you do is repeat it. Namo Myo Renge Kyo, Namo Myo Renge Kyo, glory to the Lotus Sutra. So you're worshiping the Lotus Sutra, but you don't have to open it. Inside it is all of life. So you can see how these ways of practicing really appeal to people. Maybe you can't, but to kind of sort of the common woman, the common man. So that's what I want to say about, I want to say limitations. Limitations for bhakti, for devotion. Spiritual bypassing. Those of you who heard me talk about that before. Spiritually bypassing our emotional needs. Now, you've got to be very careful of that. We all have emotional needs. You need to interpersonally and intrapersonally take care of those. So that's a problem. Second is focus on an unequal relationship. I'm no good, but that timelessness. So we give up our power. And then in terms of the teacher or the Buddha is the one. And when there's that kind of power differential, things can really kind of go awry, and have for hundreds and hundreds of years, and still are. And the third limitation is, well, I have a lot of atheist and agnostic friends who come to this Zen center, actually. Well, what's the place for them here? Well, that's why they've got to do the other three. I mean, they're mostly good sports and do the bhakti stuff here. But when you really ask them, they're more secular Buddhists in the sense that they're atheists or agnostics, which is just fine. That's the other three paths, the other peak paths. But this is also a limitation of this devotion. There's not room for them. And when I took over at Zen Center, was it 20 years ago, 21 years ago, I introduced contemporary practice, meaning our Sunday used to be very ritualized, very formal, chanting at the beginning, a lot of formal bowing, and everybody wearing their raktsus. But I want to invite my atheist and agnostic friends over. Since I come from the Unitarian background. So we totally switched Sunday, and we've been doing, half of our practices here have been contemporary ever since. That's just a term we coined to differentiate. So now I want to talk about Jnana yoga. Let's see, I don't need to, it's already 10:27. Well, I'll just talk for 5 or 10 minutes about Jnana yoga. Nyana yoga. Nyana, the path of transcendent knowledge. Transcendent knowledge. And here we're working with the mind, not emotion. And we're doing it by deep questioning. A Nyana practitioner does deep, deep questioning. Shariputra and later prajna paramita are the two Nyana. Well, Shariputra actually in particular is the Nyana yogi. And prajna paramita disses that, but I'm not talking about that today. So that's too much, too long. Through deep questioning, who are we? Who is this little self that's rustling around in here? Who is he? Who is she? Who am I? All of the koans in Zen come from that fundamental question. Who am I? What am I doing here? Who is this? Who is this guy who's turning somersaults in here? Pushing and pulling, ignoring, pushing and pulling. Who is he? Who is he? This is not to put him down, it's just to ask, who is this guy? Deep from your heart. This is Nyana. You ask it from your heart mind, your wholeheartedly. This is the koan, the original koan. Who am I? Who am I? What is this? Who am I? And also within Jnana Yoga, there's like, what's my inmost request? What do I really want to do? My life is limited. I maybe only have 2 years or 20 years. What do I really want to do? Who? Not only who is this, but what does he want to do in this short life? What does he want to do? Am I doing what I really want to do? Who am I is considered the most difficult of the four because we don't have any gods or goddesses or chanting or anything. We don't even told that we need to sit in meditation necessarily. We're just question. And yet it comes in to Zen just naturally with a natural koan, which I'm not going to talk about. How can the mind and the intellect go beyond the mind and the intellect? How is that possible? Is that possible? If I say yes, then you've got to know thought. Who is saying yes? Who is saying no? Maybe you're saying no, I can't do it. I've been practicing all this time. Who is saying no? Who is saying no? Who? The original koan. The Upanishads call this the razor's edge, treading on the razor's edge, because it's sharp and you don't have anything to depend on. It's sharp. And Ramana Maharshi, who's one of my favorite archetypal guys, says, When you get tired of asking, ask who is asking. When you get tired of asking who is asking, ask who is asking who is asking. Who. That's Nyana. That's Jnana yoga. So in the Heart Sutra, we start out by negating. This is a Nyana practice in a way. Negating, no form, no feeling, no perception, no impulse, no consciousness. And then we negate even the senses. I'm not my ears, I'm not my nose, I'm not my mind, I'm not, on and on and on, on and on and on. This is neti in Sanskrit. Neti. I'm a man. What is a man? Who is a man? I'm Tim. Who is Tim? What is Tim? I'm 79 years old. Oh, 79 years old, 97 years old, 32 years old, 41 years old. Who is that? What is that? What is that 79-year-old? Right? I'm a parent. Oh, I love being a parent. Who is it who loves being a parent? I'm a grandparent. I love that even more. Who is that who loves that even more? I'm a horrible something or other. Who is that horrible something or other? I'm a wonderful something or other. This is neti practice. This is Nyana practice. All just labels. We have the possibility to live a life beyond our labels. Our labels are great, but they really constrain us. So our practice, when we do a Nyana practice, it's good to settle into the body and the breath. So let's do a 3-minute Nyana practice. I'm gonna ring my bell here. I'll ring this bell, and then for 3 minutes, I want you to ask yourself who you are. And any thought that comes, ask who that thought is. A 3-minute practice. 3-minute practice, letting go of all of your expectations and your explanations. When something starts to turn solid, 3 minutes. Gong. Gong. So this practice, as all these practices, at some point you open up to wonder, just to wonder. Nothing fancy, just wonder. Wonder's pretty fancy though. Wonder doesn't try to be fancy, it's just fancy. And you begin to find your life a little different, continually surprising, deeply ordinary, and full of sukha, S-U-K-K-H-A, happiness. Path in Buddhism, through dukkha, through suffering, to happiness. To happiness. This is a happiness that's not of time. Climate change is awful. You know who is awful politically. But this happiness is not of time. It's not of time. It includes time, but it's not of it. And that's one thing I know, and I don't know that. How do I know that? But I know it. Something knows it. You understand? So all of these are yokes. I will talk about 2 yokes today. Ways in which we join ourselves with this big universe that's always supporting us. Always supporting us. And this one, the Nyana one, its limitation is that it requires a lot of energetic probing with no relief and no structure to depend on. That's a limitation. That's why maybe it's better to do it in a Zen context or something. Although the koan isn't a Zen. Together, they're all good. And they're all good separately, too. And all of them require a lot of effort, and there is almost always at some point an ordeal component to all of them. I don't like to mention this because I don't want everybody to go away from Zen Center. Especially when there's so much trauma, when so many people are depressed, as they are now. But there is an ordeal component to this because our little self is so caught that for it to melt, we have to really earnestly do one or more of these practices and sustain that third and fourth paramitas with patience and persistence, regardless of what happens. Patience and persistence. And so the next time I'm going to talk about this is at the first day of Rahatsu. Speaking of ordeals, we have a Rahatsu session coming up, which starts at the wonderful hour of 5:45 in the morning and goes until 9 at night. And I'll be talking the first day about the next 2 yogas. But I want to tell you something, that if you just attend Rahatsu online, you can come and go as you please. You can come anytime you want, and you can go anytime you want. And nobody's keeping track, and that's A-OK. I checked in with a guiding teacher, and he said that's A-OK. So you won't be back if you do that. Nevertheless, these retreats were set up with the idea that it's going to take a while, a really sustained effort to break out of our little box that we're always confined. But a hungry person will find food. A hungry person always finds food. Well, maybe a hungry person dies before she finds food. In her death is her life. You have to die to this little self to open to the big one. Really? Really? I'm not kidding. Not something I read. I'm not kidding. That's an ordeal. Ooh. Sorry, I don't know. That's all I know. I don't know that much. So that's what I want to say for today. happy to entertain. Let's see how much time we have. We've got some time for questions and discussion of people. I'll start with people online. Anybody online who has a question or comment about anything, please just make yourself known. I think everybody will be able to hear you. Questions or comments from people online?
Tim, this is Mark Gemmel. How you doing?
Hi, Mark. I'm doing good.
You know, I've been circling around this lately. This kind of, I end up at a place of groundlessness, like who the F am I? And when I get to a meditation like that, you say, I'm not my feelings. I'm the awareness of my feelings. I'm not my body. I'm the awareness. All the way back. I'm not Mark Gemmel. I'm the awareness of this conglomeration of memory, perception, and sensation that, for convenience, we call Mark Gemmel. And I get confused now. How far back do I go? Because I run out of space here. And then I end up in some place where that ultimate awareness that I am is also the same awareness that you are. And
Good.
But then I think,
so when you're confused, but Mark, when you're confused, you're on the right path.
Tell that to my wife. But it's like, but yeah, remember that old story that say the disciple says to his master, what do I do to get enlightenment? He says, chop wood, carry water. And he says, how about when I am enlightened? He says, chop wood, carry water. I think he was just dodging the question. I think you say, I don't know.
Talking to who?
He's talking to the master who says you just chop wood, carry water once you're enlightened. I think he dodged the question. But anyway, I appreciate this because I tend to circle around in and out of where we are this morning. So this is helpful.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for your thoughts. Well, you've been doing a Nyana practice. Did you realize that you've been doing a koan practice, a Nyana practice?
I don't actually do things, Tim, as much as I fall into things. So
that's even better. Then it's natural. Yeah. Then you don't have to be self-conscious about it. You just do it naturally.
Well, yeah. Okay. Thanks. I'm gonna hold on to that. Thank you.
I'll follow you. Good. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Other people online. Any of the other 30 people online?
Good morning, Tim. Judy here.
Hi, Judy.
Just for being in the present and living ordinary life, and something comes up that disturbs my mind, and so in that moment, I guess I could say, who am I with this irritation? Who am I with this anger? What do you say?
That's good. You can say, who has this anger? Who is holding this anger? And then if you can't find the person who's holding it, you might ask, what is this anger? What is it? What is it? You're not trying to deny it. You're just saying, what is the anger? And I might say, it's about my sister. Who is that? Who is my sister? Who am I? So you just do it. You just follow the thread naturally. How does that feel?
It feels good. Thank you.
And each thread, the thread that connects us through a yearning to the big heart mind that is always supporting us, always supporting us. That thread is always here. Okay, in the room, people in the room. Questions, comments? Nyana.
So I have been doing a lot of personal work recently on habits, and habit energy, and getting down to the emotional feeling and the feelings in the body that will drive the habits. This little brief line of practice was really helpful for me. I've never done that questioning before, and I realized that sometimes as I'm working through this, I do get way too caught up on the labeling. Like when I'm trying to label my emotions.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's not very helpful.
Yes,
with all that
well,
labeling.
yes,
So
well, you know, our Japanese Zen teachers did not believe in labeling emotions. They'd be surprised, but we learned a lot from Vipassana when it came from this country. Vipassana was most of those Vipassana teachers, many of them were psychologists. And they began doing taking it from the oldest suttas, a labeling practice. But our Japanese teachers, no, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. For the very reason you're saying, you know, you've already got plenty of labels. Why do you need a new label?
What does labeling mean in that context? Like saying something's a good or like a positive or negative emotion?
Well, I actually believe in labeling emotions. I think it's a good practice. I'm a psychologist too. I would think it's a good practice, right? Oh, if I can feel my anger, I can notice it in my body, I label it as anger, I can accept it, I can be with it, and it can dissipate. But it is just a label. If it starts mucking things up, like it's good for me to remind myself, it's just a label. It's a way to get into something deeper than just my head. And if I can get beyond my head into my body, and beyond my body into my feeling body, then it's more likely I'll be able to get all the way out into just this depth of being that's always encompassing us. Does that make sense?
So,
You think so? Do you have a further question?
well, so again, with the labeling, it's sort of you're experiencing your emotion. Oh, that's fear, that's anger, that's happiness, that's sadness.
Yes.
But the non-labeling would be just kind of experiencing it.
Yeah, without labeling. They're both good practices. So in Buddhism, there are two classical forms of meditation. The one is concentration meditation, which would include labeling. The other is bare awareness, which is Shikan Taza. Just to sit, just to be open to whatever comes through, not to do anything. Those are very good complementary practices. Does that make sense? Carol?
So, you know, just to kind of follow on that riff, I mean, I think one of the things that I've noticed that can trip us up with labels is that sometimes we can label, or we can mislabel.
That's
what
right.
comes up.
Yeah.
And say, let's just say, for example, we think, oh, that's anger. But
Yeah.
if we actually sit with it, we realize there's something underneath that.
That's right.
That's truer.
That's right. So all of these labels need to be tentative. They all need to be tentative. Thank you for pointing that out, Carol. And often underneath one emotion is another one, under that is another one. But as we peel these hardened emotional responses away, we lighten and we become lighter. And the more lighter we are, the more we sense big reality right here, big mind. And the more we are swimming in a sea of love without even trying particularly, just are through our practice. I'm not a particularly sentimental person, so I'm not, but it's true. So Carol, that was a good point. Do you want to say anything more about it? Okay. Anybody else? Inside the room or inside the screen? Who's that? Is someone else raising their hand? No, I don't think so. Scratching their head. I'm going to sit for another couple minutes here with you and not do anything. And you can practice Nyana if you'd like, or just daydream about what you're going to be doing, how quickly you're going to get out of here so you won't have to do social hour. Oh, maybe, yeah, spend your 3 minutes thinking that. There's a way to get out so you don't have to do social hour.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hi.
So you mentioned something about when you're doing the practice, you experience some sort of death. I think you're
Some sort of what?
some sort of death.
Death, yes.
I think you're alluding to maybe ego death. I was wondering, what was that experience like for you?
Not like anything. Not like something. Gate, our mantra is gate, para, gone beyond being like something, gone beyond, gate, para, some gate, gone completely beyond even being beyond. Right here, stillness. In death there is life. All life, always flowing through us, supporting us. And then bodhisattva, the end of the Heart Sutra, joyfully awake, joyfully awake. But you have to repeat that 100,000 times to know what I'm talking about. Sorry, I don't know what else to say. But you can do it. You can do it. It don't take that much time. If you think about how much time it will take, you'll never forget it, just do it. But again, I'm telling you about the practice I've done all these years. And these other practices are great too. In all these religions. Although most of them are other power. Not too many of them are Nyana or Raja. Those are the self. Raja yoga is a sitting yoga, self-power. Although it's big sin. Okay, well, anything more? Oh, Larry.
Yeah, just a pedestrian question here. What are the other two forms of yoga that you're?
The other two that I'm going to talk about next time are karma yoga, the yoga of service, the bodhisattva, and Raja yoga, meditation yoga. And hatha yoga is considered the first step in a Raja yoga program. So you know all these yoga classes all over the United States, maybe they do a little bit of Raja in the last 2 minutes. They don't call it that. But in India, historically, it's the other way around. You do enough exercises will loosen you up so you can do the meditation. At least in India, it used to be the other way around. Thank you very much. Happy to be here with you today.